First and second phase of national movement, class 10 ICC history. Leaders who dominated the Indian political scene from the platform of the Indian National Congress can be categorized into moderates and assertives. Moderates were active between 1885 to 1905, means for 20 years. Moderates were early nationalist leaders who were active between 1885 to 1905, and assertives were active from 1905 to 1915, means for 10 years. Now, differences between the aims of moderates and assertives. Moderates sought to achieve dominion status. Assertives demanded complete independence. Means moderates, they sought to achieve sovereignty, and assertives demanded complete independence. Moderates wanted administrative reforms within the British Empire. Assertives wanted to set up a nationalist government. Moderates were looking to mitigate the sufferings of Indians. Assertives, on the contrary, wanted to remove the sufferings of Indians. So moderates, they basically wanted peace despite of the British rule, and assertives did not want the British rule only. So moderates sought to achieve sovereignty or dominion status. Assertives demanded complete independence. Moderates wanted administrative reforms within the British Empire, and assertives wanted to set up a nationalist government. And moderates were looking to mitigate means to decrease, to reduce the severity of the suffering. So moderates were looking to mitigate the sufferings of Indians, and assertives wanted to remove the sufferings of Indians completely. Now differences between methods of moderates and assertives. This was the differences between the aims of moderates and assertives. Now this is the methods. Moderates followed the constitutional method of protest. Assertives followed assertive or revolutionary methods. Moderates followed a policy of cooperation and conciliation with the British government. Followed a policy of non-cooperation and passive resistance. Prominent moderate methods were petitions to government officials, resolutions, meetings in towns, cities and countryside, leaflets and pamphlets, memorandums for government committees, delegations of leading politicians to England. Assertives followed methods of Swadeshi, boycott, revivalism, and national education. So, what were the differences between the methods of moderates and assertives? Moderates followed the constitution, so they followed the constitutional method of protest. But assertives followed assertive, or means it is there in the name only, assertive or revolutionary methods. And moderates followed a policy of cooperation and conciliation with the British government. They wanted the British government to rule India, and they cooperated with the British government. But assertives, they were dead against the British government. They followed a policy of non-cooperation and passive resistance. And some examples of the methods are petitions to government officials, resolutions. These are moderates. Okay, the methods followed by moderates. Petitions to government officials, resolutions, meetings in towns, cities and countryside, leaflets, pamphlet, memorandums for government officials, government committees. And assertives followed methods of four things: Swadeshi, boycott, revivalism, national education. Swadeshi, boycott, revivalism, and national education. So Swadeshi is embracing one's own country's goods. Boycott is boycotting the foreign goods. Revivalism is reviving some of the historical instances from India. Mane, some instances were revived when some Indian heroes fought and won. So that is revivalism, reviving the treasures of India. And national education was uh, not studying in the foreign languages, promoting education in the local languages. Now, partition of Bengal. So, Bengal was the most thickly populated province of British India. Now, Bengal consisted of Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Chota Nagpur, and some other remote areas. And its population was over 80 million. 80 million means 8 crores. So 80 millions means 8 crores. So Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Chota Nagpur all were a part of Bengal. And it had 8 crore people. The population was 8 crore. In 20th July 1905, Lord Curzon declared the scheme for the partition of Bengal, and it was finally implemented on this date is extremely important, 16th October 1905, Suman Chakraborty's birthday. So Lord Curzon declared the scheme for partition of Bengal in July 1905. The exact date is not required. You can remember also 20th July, and it was finally implemented on 16th October 1905. Now, as per the schemes of the government, Bengal was divided into Bengal and which included the western districts of Bengal proper and Bihar and Odisha. Okay, this is not very clear that which are the different two provinces. Okay, two different provinces. Calcutta was its capital, everybody knows. Now, Eastern Bengal and Assam. Okay, now I've understood. So, Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. This was one part, and Eastern Bengal and Assam was another part. So, the partition of Bengal resulted in the division of Bengal into two different provinces. One was Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. Calcutta was its capital. Another was Eastern Bengal and Assam, and Dhaka was its capital. The Dhaka, the spelling is a bit weird. Dacca. Dhaka. Okay. The province of East Bengal was dominated by Bengali Muslims, and the province of Bengal was dominated by non-Bengali population. And there were about 3 crores of non-Bengalis among 5 crores of the total population. In both the provinces, the Hindu Bengali population was a minority. So, in East Bengal, which is the Eastern Bengal and Assam, that is the second province, the first province being Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. So, the Eastern Bengal and Assam, this province was dominated by Bengali Muslims. Means the Dhaka and the Bangladesh, they are of course dominated by the Muslims only. And the Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, of course, in Bihar and Odisha, non-Bengalis are only there. So non-Bengali population dominated the Bengal, Bihar, Odisha part. So what was the official reason for the partition of Bengal? Given the huge size of the province, the government argued that it was difficult for a single provincial government to administer the area efficiently. So, say for instance, Mamata Banerjee. So, imagine Mamata Banerjee is taking care of such a huge portion: Bengal, Assam, Odisha, Eastern Bengal, which is actually Bangladesh, Bihar, so many different states. So that's why, given the huge size of the province, the government argued that it was difficult for a single provincial government to administer the area efficiently. So here the key words are huge size and administer the area. A single provincial government, these are called provinces. It was finally the partition of Bengal resulted into the division of Bengal into two provinces. So provincial government. So a single provincial government cannot administer the area efficiently. So administer, the word administer is very important here. The government also argued that it was not really partition, just a readjustment of territorial boundaries. So it was not technically partition, but it was a readjustment of territorial boundaries. So here the key word is readjustment of territorial boundaries. Partition would protect and promote the interest of minorities. So Muslims, these Christians, they are minorities, right? So partition would protect and promote the interest of minorities. It would also help improve the economic conditions of both the provinces. So, what are the four reasons for the partition of Bengal? One, the huge size of province was making it difficult for a single provincial government to administer the area efficiently. Second was the government said that this was not technically partition, but it was a readjustment of territorial boundaries. Readjustment of territorial boundaries. Third, partition would protect and promote the interest of minorities. So partition would promote the interest of minorities, and it would help to improve the economic conditions. Now, now these were the official reason which the government gave. Now, what were the reasons, or what was the interpretation which the nationalists gave? Okay. So Bengal was the nerve center of Indian nationalism. By dividing it, the British hoped to stem the rising tide of nationalism. It sought to drive a wedge between Hindus and Muslims, demonstrate the strength of British Raj, reduce the Bengalis to a position of minority in both the provinces of Bengal. To stem the tide, this means to stop something from increasing or growing. So Bengal was the nerve center. Nerve is very important. Right? Without nerves, no human being would survive. So Bengal was the nerve center of Indian nationalism. By dividing it, the British hoped to stem the rising tide of nationalism. Means nationalism has been compared to a rising tide, and to reduce the efficiency or the efficiency of nationalism, the British divided Bengal. It sought to drive a wedge between Hindus and Muslims. So, conflict between Hindus and Muslims. This is very important. Drive a wedge between Hindus and Muslims. There, the important words were stem the rising tide of nationalism. Here, the main words are drive a wedge between Hindus and Muslims. And the third reason is to show power. So demonstrate the strength of the British Raj. And the fourth is reduce the Bengalis to a position of minorities in both the provinces of Bengal. So the two provinces to which it was divided, one was Eastern Bengal and Assam, another was Bengal, Bihar, Odisha. In one province, in the Eastern Bengal province, the Muslims ruled. In the Bengal, Bihar, Odisha province, the non-Bengalis were ruling. So the actual Bengalis, the actual majority was, reduced to a position of minorities. So here also four reasons are there. Means Official reason, the reasons given by the government are also four, and the actual interpretation was also four. So the official reason was, given the huge size of the province, the government argued that it was difficult for a single provincial government to administer the area efficiently. The government argued that it was not really partition, but a readjustment of territorial boundaries. Partition would protect and promote the interest of minorities. It would also help to improve the economic conditions of both the provinces. And actual reasons was, by dividing Bengal, which was the nerve center of Indian nationalism, the British hoped to stem the rising tide of nationalism. First reason. Second reason, it sought to drive a wedge between Hindus and Muslims. Third reason, to demonstrate the strength of the British Raj. Fourth reason, reduce the Bengalis to a position of minority in both provinces of Bengal. Now, this was done in 1905, 16th October. Now, the next important historical event in 1907, Surat split. Um Moderates and assertives happened to lock horns with each other post the partition of Bengal. They had issues regarding the methods of political agitation to be pursued in the country and different preferences for candidates to be chosen as the president of Congress. So, moderates and assertives, as a result of this partition of Bengal, they started to have conflicts. Happened to locking horns means having conflict. And they had issues regarding the methods of political agitation, and they had different preferences for candidates to be chosen as the president of Congress. So two areas the opinions differed. First was methods of political agitation, second was different preferences for candidates to be chosen as president of Congress. Assertives were happy with the success of boycott and Swadeshi and eager to adopt and use the methods all over India for attaining Swaraj. Moderates had reservations about it. They wanted boycott and Swadeshi only in Bengal and continued with their policy of petition and persuasion in the rest of India. So assertives were happy with the success of boycott and Swadeshi and they wanted to use these methods all over India. And moderates had reservations about it. They wanted boycott and Swadeshi only in Bengal and continued with their policy of petition and persuasion. So remember, these words are very important. Moderates, petition, persuasion. They used before also I told that moderates used resolutions, meetings, leaflets, pamphlets, memorandums for government committees. So they believed in persuasion, petition. So policy of persuasion and petition. So they wanted to continue with the policy of petition and persuasion in the rest of India. Moderates had proposed the name of Rashbihari Ghosh as the president of Surat session of the Congress. Assertives were hoping to see Lala Rajpat Rai in the same position. So moderates wanted Rashbihari Ghosh to be the president of the Surat session, and assertives were hoping to see Lajpat Rai. So moderates Rashbihari Ghosh, assertives Lala Lajpat Rai. Now, the underlying tensions eventually erupted into an open conflagration. What is this? Okay, CONFLAGRATION, conflagration. This means an extensive fire which breaks out and destroys a lot of land area. So the underlying tensions eventually erupted into an open conflagration, or even if you don't remember, an open fire, extensive fire in 1907, and ended with the assertives walking out of Indian National Congress. So, as a result of these tensions, the assertives was happy with the success of boycott and Swadeshi, and they wanted to use these methods all over India. And moderates wanted these methods only to be implemented in Bengal. They had issues regarding methods of political agitation. They had different preferences for candidates. Moderates wanted Rajbihari Ghosh to be the president of the Surat session, and assertives wanted Lala Rajpat Rai in the same position. So these tensions eventually erupted into open conflagration in 1907, and assertives um, walked out of the Indian National Congress. The unfortunate split of Surat inadvertently weakened the national movement. It put the government in a position of advantage. The government eventually followed a policy of concession and repression, concession for the moderates and Muslims, and repression for the assertive nationalists. So, this conflagration, this breaking out of a huge fire, this weakened the national movement, and the government was put in a position of advantage. So government followed a policy of concession and repression. Concession for the moderates and Muslims, and repression for the assertive nationalists. So assertives wanted to drive out the British of the country. So the government of course did not like the assertives, and they used repression for the assertive nationalists and allowed concession for moderates and Muslims. It is worth mentioning here that the two parties would have fallen apart in 1906 itself, but a schism was averted by Dadabhai Naoroji. Dadabhai Naoroji's name was proposed as the president at Calcutta session, and out of respect for the eminent politician, assertives chose not to contest it. So in 1905, 16th October only, the partition of Bengal occurred. So the Surat split occurred in 1907. So there is 1 year in between, which is 1906. So the two parties would have fallen apart in 1906 itself. What prevented, what averted this incident was that Dadabhai Naoroji's name was proposed as the president at the Calcutta session. And Dadabhai Naoroji was an eminent politician, so assertives chose not to walk out of the Indian National Congress. Now, contribution of moderate leaders. Dadabhai Naoroji. So, Dadabhai Naoroji was a moderate. Dadabhai Naoroji, Surendranath Banerjee, Gopal Krishna Gokhale. And Dadabhai Naoroji. So, there are a few names of Dadabhai Naoroji. One is Grand Old Man of India, and India's unofficial ambassador to England. So, Grand Old Man of India. There is a picture of Dadabhai Naoroji. He is wearing a turban kind of thing, and he's a little aged, and he has a mustache and beard, mustache, beard, all of these. And he wears spectacles. So, this is Dadabhai Naoroji, who is also called the Grand Old Man of India and India's unofficial ambassador to England. He had set up the East India Association in 1866 in London, edited the newspaper Rast Guftar, started the magazine Dharma Marg Darshak. So, Dadabhai Naoroji, he set up East India Association in 1886 in London, and he edited the newspaper Rast Guftar. Rast Guftar. And he started the magazine Dharma Marg Darshak. Marg means road. So the road which leads to Dharma, the Darshak of that road. So he started the magazine of Dharma Marg Darshak. He presided over the Congress sessions of 1886, 1893, and 1906. 1906 is evident because it was mentioned earlier that in 1906 only the two parties, the assertives and the moderates, would have fallen apart. But due to the presence of Dadabhai Naoroji, it was averted. So these years are, I don't think it is required. It was under his presidency that the Congress sessions of 1906 had passed resolutions on Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott, and national education. So, and it was under his presidency only. Swaraj, Swadeshi, boycott, national education, these were passed. And the credit for demanding Swaraj for the first time from the Congress goes to him. It was because of him that a schism between the moderates and assertives was prevented in 1906. We have studied this earlier. And he demanded Swaraj for the first time. His efforts had persuaded the government to pass a resolution for simultaneous holding of Indian civil service exams in India and England. So Indian civil service exams. These exams, he persuaded the government to pass a resolution for a simultaneous holding of Indian civil service exams in India and England. That is why he is called India's unofficial ambassador to England. And his economic views were explained in the book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. This is very important. He had written a book. It is not written. His economics views were explained in the book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. In this book, the economic views of Dadabhai Naoroji were explained. His famous drain theory in the book highlights the different ways through which India's wealth was being drained to England. So Dadabhai Naoroji has everything to do with England. He requested the government to pass a resolution for simultaneous holding of Indian civil service in India and England. Then he set up East India Association in London. So London is also the capital of England. So and also he proposed a drain theory which highlights the different ways through which India's wealth was being drained to England. Now Gopal Krishna Gokhale. He is known as the political guru of Gandhi as he had persuaded Gandhi to return to India and join Indian public life. So the every moderates, they have got a name. Surendranath Banerjee's name is Indian Bark. Burka. Okay. So, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he is known as the political guru of Gandhi as he had persuaded Gandhi to return to India and join Indian public life. In 1904, he was awarded the title of CIE, Companion of the Indian Empire. CIA, E, C for Companion, I for Indian, E for Empire. Companion of the Indian Empire. He edited the journal Sudharak. So, uh, Dadabhai Naoroji edited the newspaper Rast Guftar and started the magazine Dharma Margdarshak. And Gopal Krishna Gokhale edited the journal Sudharak. Gopal Krishna Gokhale also pleaded for reform of legislative councils and separation of judiciary from the executive. So Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he edited the journal Sudharak. Gopal Krishna Gokhale pleaded for reform of legislative councils and separation of judiciary from the executive. So Gopal Krishna Gokhale pleaded for reform of legislative councils and separation of judiciary from the executive. Means he separated judiciary from executive. Judiciary was related to law and executive. Justice basically, not law. And legislative is law. So pleaded for reform of legislative councils. Now, Gopal Krishna Gokhale set up the Servants of India Society in 1905. So, in the year in which partition of Bengal occurred in 1905, in that year only he set up Servants of India Society. Aim of the society was to train men who would devote their lives to the service of the country. So, in the Servants of India Society, the men were trained, and the men who would devote their lives to the service for the of the country. He became Gopal Krishna Gokhale became a member of Imperial Legislative Council in 1902 and pleaded for reduction in salt duty and abolition of excise duty on cotton goods. So, he became a member of Imperial Legislative Council and he pleaded for reduction in salt duty and abolition of excise duty on cotton goods. He tried to introduce a bill in favor of free primary education without much success. So he was not successful, but he tried to introduce a bill in favor of free primary education. And he called for reduction of land revenue for Indian industries. So the major points to be noted are Gopal Krishna Gokhale is known as the political guru of Gandhi. He was awarded the title of CIE, Companion of the Indian Empire. He set up Servants of India Society in 1905. The aim was to train men who would devote their lives to the service of the country. He pleaded for reform of legislative council and separation of the judiciary from the executive. He edited the journal Sudharak. He became a member of the Imperial Legislative Council in 1902 and pleaded for the reduction in salt duty and abolition of excise duty on cotton goods. Now, Surendranath Banerjee. Surendranath Banerjee had great oratory skills. So that's why he has been referred to as Indian Burke. Burke. So probably this Burke was a very good orator, and that's why Surendranath Banerjee was given this name. He was the first Indian to qualify the Indian civil service exams. So Dadabhai Naoroji, he persuaded the government to pass a resolution for simultaneously holding Indian civil service exams in India and England, and that same exam, in that same exam, Surendranath Banerjee qualified, and he was the first Indian to qualify. He set up Indian Association in 1876. He protested against Arms Act and Vernacular Press Act. So these uh, moderates, Dadabhai Naoroji, he wanted the yeah, wanted the Indian civil service to be held in both India and England. Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he pleaded for the reform of legislative council and separation of judiciary from the executive, and he also pleaded for reduction in salt duty and abolition of excise duty on cotton goods. And Surendranath Banerjee, despite being a moderate, he in his case the word protested is written, so he protested against the Arms Act and Vernacular Press Act, and he edited the newspaper Bengali. Okay, the spelling is Bengal. It's not I, it's Lle. So everybody has to do something with these newspapers. Dadabhai Naoroji edited the newspaper Rastgufta, started the magazine Dharma Margdarshak. Gopal Krishna Gokhale edited the journal Sudharak, and Surendranath Banerjee edited the newspaper Bengali. And he wrote the book Nation in the Making. So, Dadabhai Naoroji, his economic views were explained in the book Poverty and Un-British Rule in India, and he had proposed the drain theory. So, Gopal Krishna Gokhale did not write any book, and Surendranath Banerjee had wrote the book Author in the Making. Now, probably this poverty and un-British rule in India is not written by Dadabhai Naoroji. His economic views were explained, but the this book Nation in the Making, this is written by Surendranath Banerjee. The book provided an insight about his political concerns and his views about self-government. So, his book provided an insight about his political concerns and his views about self-government. He had called for the Indian National Conference at Kolkata in 1883. The conference was finally merged with the Indian National Congress. So, Surendranath Banerjee had called for the Indian National Conference in Kolkata. So, he set up Indian Association in 1876. So, imagine someone who is just memorize this date by imagining someone who was born in 1976, because it's not possible to know someone who has uh, taken birth on 1876. But uh, I can't remember, I can't recall right now, but someone must be there. And 1883, so 1983 is the birth year of Bechara. So in 1883 he had called for Indian National Conference. So remember 1883 Indian National Conference at Kolkata, and 7 years before that he set up Indian Association. So by this logic you will remember. So in 1883 he called for the Indian National Conference at Kolkata. He elected to the Calcutta Corporation and remained its member for nearly 2 decades. He elected to the Calcutta Corporation and remained its member for nearly 2 decades. So Surendranath Banerjee, of course, he is a Bengali. That's why he is editing the newspaper whose name is Bengali. He is calling for the Indian National Conference at Kolkata. He is electing to the, you know, Calcutta Corporation. He was also elected to the Bengal Legislative Council 4 times. So that is also related to Bengal only. So he was elected to Calcutta Corporation and also Bengal Legislative Council. And this year is not required. He was appointed as Minister of Self-Government and Health by the Governor of Bengal. He was the first Indian to hold that position. So he was appointed as the Minister of Self-Government and Health by the Governor of Bengal. Now this was the contribution of moderate leaders. Now we will move on to the contribution of assertive leaders. So who are the assertives? Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lal Lajpat Rai. We all know Bal Lal Pal. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak, he was the father of assertive nationalism. So he was the main. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak, what he said? Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. He demanded Swaraj as a birthright. He edited newspapers again, which were Maratha and Kesari. Now, Maratha, the spelling is a bit different. MAH, Mahratta, Mahratta. Okay, so it's actually sounding like Maratta. Okay, like Ratta, Ratta. Okay, so Mahratta and Kesari. So this Mahratta, this newspaper was in English, and Kesari, the newspaper Kesari was in Marathi, written in Marathi. He wrote books, he authored books. So he wrote the books, the Gita Rahasya and the Arctic Home of the Vedas. The Arctic Home of the Vedas and Gita Rahasya. So one is related to Gita and another is related to the Vedas. Gita Rahasya Arctic home of the Vedas. Organized Shivaji and Ganapati festivals to gather mass support and instill discipline and patriotism. So we read that the assertives, the one of the methods of uh, protesting was revivalism. So this was also kind of a revivalism, that he was organizing festivals. He was organizing festivals related to the cultural festivals, Shivaji and Ganapati festivals to gather mass support and instill discipline and patriotism. So to increase the sense of brotherhood, you can say. Organized lathis and akharas to impart physical training and make the youth brave enough to defy the British rule. Lathis and akharas. So, in this section of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, there are a lot of important points. He's called the father of assertive nationalists. He demanded Swaraj as a birthright. He edited newspapers Maharatta and Kesari. He authored the books Gita Rahasya and Arctic Home of Vedas. He organized Shivaji and Ganapati festivals to gather mass support and instill discipline and patriotism. He organized lathis and akharas to impart physical training and make the youth brave enough to defy the British rule. He organized a no rent campaign in the Deccan region. He set up Home Rule League at Pune. He is also known as forerunner of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, as his ideas of Swaraj were similar to that of Gandhi. He, like Gandhi, had an enormous mass following. His ideas of Swadeshi boycott and prohibition were emulated by Gandhi as well. So he is known as the forerunner of Mahatma Gandhi, and he is also known as the father of assertive nationalist. He set up Home Rule League at Pune. He organized a no rent campaign in Deccan region. He organized lathis and akharas to make the youth brave. He organized Shivaji and Ganapati festivals to gather mass support and instill discipline and patriotism. He authored books such as Gita Rahasya and Arctic Home of Vedas. He edited newspapers Maharatta and Kesari. He demanded Swaraj as birthright, and his ideas of Swadeshi boycott and prohibition were emulated by Gandhi as well. Bipin Chandra Pal, father of revolutionary thought in India. So, Bal Gangadhar Tilak is called father of assertive nationalist. Bipin Chandra Pal is called father of revolutionary thought in India. And for the moderates, Surendranath Banerjee is called the Indian birth. Gopal Krishna Gokhale is known as political guru of Gandhi, and Dadabhai Naoroji is known as Grand Old Man of India and India's unofficial ambassador to England. So Gopal Krishna Gokhale is known as political guru of Gandhi, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak is known as forerunner of Mahatma Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. Now Vipin Chandra Pal. So he is again a Bengali. So he will do things related to Bengal, of course. So he edited newspapers like the New India, the Bengal Public Opinion, and the Tribune. Tribune, New India, Bengal Public Opinion. Tribune, New India, Bengal Public Opinion. He emphasized upon national education in the belief that it would arouse nationalist passions and become an effective instrument of social progress. He opposed caste structure and restrictions imposed by it, such as intermarriage, stood for widow remarriage and women education. He stressed upon the development of Indian industries. He demanded 48 hours of work in a week and an increase in wages. So 7 6 are 42, 7 7 are 49, about 7 hours a day work he demanded, 48 hours of work, and he demanded an increase in wages. He also opposed caste structure He also opposed restrictions imposed, uh, and he stood for widow remarriage, women education, emphasized on national education, strongly argued for the rich to pay more taxes than the poor to instill an element of equality in the society. So he did not want the rich to pay more taxes than the poor, probably, or he wanted. This is a bit confusing because he is telling to instill an element of equality in the society. This we have to check. And called for a reduction of the military budget and spending of more money on health and education service. So Bipin Chandra Pal was father of revolutionary thought in India. Edited newspapers like New India, Tribune, Bengal Public Opinion, emphasized upon national education, হচ্ছে aroused nationalist passions, became and opposed caste structure restrictions imposed by it, such as intermarriage, stood for widow remarriage, stressed on women education, stressed on development of Indian industries, demanded 48 hours of work in a week, মানে average 7 hours. Mm. So, Vipin Chandra Pal opposed caste structure and restrictions imposed by it, such as intermarriage. He stood for widow remarriage and women education. He stressed upon the development of Indian industries. He demanded 48 hours of work in a week and an increase in wages. So he strongly argued for the rich to pay more taxes. এটার মানে ঠিক ঠিক বোঝা যাচ্ছে না. Called for a reduction of the military budget and spending of more money on health and education services. He called for a reduction of the military budget and spending of more money on health and education services. এবার লালা লাজপত রায় শের এ পাঞ্জাব और पंजाब केसरी तो शेर माने लायन तो शेर ए पंजाब. So edited newspapers like Punjabi Vande Mataram and People. So he edited newspapers such as Punjabi Vande Mataram and People. He authored book National Education. He was associated with Arya Samaj movement. He was instrumental in the expansion of DAV College at Lahore. He opened orphanages, hospitals, and schools. He set up Servants of the People Society. So So Gopal Krishna Gokhale he set up the Servants of India Society, and Lala Lajpat Rai he set up Servants of the People Society, Servants of the People Society, and Servants of India Society, Servants of India Society Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Servants of People Society Lala Lajpat Rai. Now he started the monthly magazine Young India. So he edited newspapers like Punjabi, Vande Mataram, and People, and he started the monthly magazine Young India. He joined the Ghadar party. So Ghadar is there in the same spelling almost, just Ghadar, Ghadar party. He was appointed as the first president of All India Trade Union Congress. So, All India Trade Union Congress. He presided over the 1920 session of the Indian National Congress. In the session, the resolution of non-cooperation movement was adopted and passed. He protested against the Simon Commission and was badly assaulted while leading a procession outside the Lahore railway station. A month later, he died of the same injuries. So Lala Lajpat Rai protested against Simon Commission. Okay, and he couldn't sustain the injuries, and 1 month later he died. And the injuries were as a result of a very bad assault. Okay, and he edited newspapers like Punjabi Vande Mataram People. He authored book National Education. He was associated with Arya Samaj. He was instrumental in expansion of DAV College at Lahore in 1886. He opened orphanages, hospitals, and schools. He set up Servants of the People Society. He started monthly magazine Young India. Joined Ghadar Party. Was appointed as the first president of All India Trade Union Congress. presided over 1920 session of the Indian National Congress.